Hello again. This was going to be an update on how the game went, but the game isn't finished. I woefully misunderestimated how long it would take. 7 players to get through Trial of the Slime Lord. So we're about, I'd say, halfway through at the point where we broke for the day. Now, that has given me plenty of time to learn a few lessons, and I'm going to tell you, for starters, I need to be better at some things. I do. I need to be better at keeping rounds distinct. It was very easy, I found, to go from the end of one round straight into the next, not really pausing at the end of the initiative order before starting again at the top of it. And I think that's not a good thing. That makes combat or crawling feel like a continual flow without any real advantage to being first in the order, because you go immediately after the person who was last in the order. So what I want to do next time is to have a summary at the end of the round and say, right, that's the end of round 1. This character is injured, that character has been attacking, the monsters look like this, and then that will help me to remember to do any environmental effects like endanger the light source. That's the next thing. Although we were excuse me, although we were very much underground, in tunnels, in caves, in the damp, I didn't endanger the light source. One of the players was sat where they could see very easily a clock, and every time I said, okay, you've lit a new torch, they quietly made a note of what time it was, and then when someone else said, well, how are we doing with the light source? They would say, oh, it's okay, you've got 36 minutes. And I don't know that that's bad. I don't think I want to punish them for good bookkeeping at all. But what I need to do is remember that the light doesn't just run out on a timer. It can also be imperiled by the things around it, particularly in a wet setting. There can be drips from the ceiling, there can be skidding on the floor, it can be dropped. And of course, the monsters can attack the light as the primary thing they want to get rid of. It's disturbing their nice dark. I also didn't give out any luck tokens. I completely forgot about them. And there were a couple of points where I would have given them, not necessarily to the characters, but to the players. One in particular incident had somebody barreling into the room away from a slime and jumping down the hole that other people had excavated in the corner of the room, causing them to plummet to their death. It was a wonderful piece of role-playing. It was very funny. I should have rewarded that with a luck token. They would have used it on their next character, of course, not the one that was just dead. During the combat, one person couldn't decide what to do, and because they weren't directly involved with the fight, they were further away. I said, okay, well, you're weighing up the options, you're not deciding what to do, you're trying to think what would be good. And I moved on to the next person, and they were a little bit indignant. Oh, if I don't tell you what I'm going to do, you're going to skip me? And I was like, yes, because I wanted to keep combat fast paced. I wanted it to keep going. I didn't want it to turn into a Dungeons and Dragons combat where each person takes time to work out what they're doing from their list of things. I think that was the right decision for the pace we were going at. It was going quick, 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 got to them and slowed, and I don't want that to happen. But I think in future what I will do is say to them on their next round, you spent last round evaluating what you're going to do, tell me what you're doing now, and I'll give you advantage. And I think, provided everyone's not doing that, skipping your go so you can get a mechanical bonus or advantage or increase to your next action makes some sense. You are allowing the monsters a free hit if you're at the front, which is why you probably won't want to do it. But if you're at the back and you can't shoot an arrow through a crowd of people, then I think it makes some sense to have another option for something you can do other than run further away. If you are playing ShadowDark yourself and you have a copy of Trial of the Slime Lord, then we got through the entrance area, briefly looked into the centipede's cave, but didn't clear the rubble. Got afeared of that, came back and went into the statues room, where we realized that the reason that any arrows shot in the dark weren't there when the torch reached where they would have landed was because of the collector, who was fairly summarily dispatched, while one of the players at the back kept saying, "But what if we tried to talk to them?" To which the answer was, well, you've been attacking them for 3 rounds now. It's not likely they're going to stop and start a conversation with you. It's clearly an intelligent foe. Maybe try doing that next time. I wore this t-shirt, my By Pride role-playing dice t-shirt. Here's a few photos of what we look like on the day. As you can see, my watchword as a GM is dignity. Always dignity. That's about it for this video. I look forward to seeing you next time.